This video is sponsored by .store domains.
Is your health all right?
That's okay.
You're feeling well, then?
It's got a bad throat, you know.
What do you take for it?
I've got a person in my throat. That's a frog joke.
That's a frog joke, yes.
He was only 53 years old, and his passing today came as a complete surprise.
The death of puppeteer Jim Henson today was unexpected.
The circumstances are stunning.
And then there was the death of Jim Henson. Came as a big surprise yesterday.
Jim Henson died May 16th, 1990. His death was a shock.
Nobody saw the death of Jim Henson coming.
Jim died? But we were just starting to get to know him.
Not even himself.
Is there a next step for Jim Henson?
Right now, he's thinking of stuff 10 years from now.
Oh, we're always working on several different projects. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. We have a couple of things that are in the works at the moment.
Walt Disney Company is buying Henson Associates.
The idea of joining our characters with these guys is such a big thrill for me.
In fact, Jim was just getting started when everything was interrupted.
I'm sorry about the interruption. That's okay.
Please welcome Jim Henson.
Jim Henson.
And now Jim Henson is the head of a multi-million-dollar entertainment empire.
Sitting beside me here is the Muppet Master himself. There's only one word for Jim. He's a genius.
And here's my old friend Kermit.
Hi there.
Jim Henson has created more popular fantasy characters than almost anyone since Walt Disney. Kermit, Miss Piggy, Big Bird are now superstars all around the world.
Henson won virtually every award given for television.
But Henson never rested on his laurels. He was always looking ahead to new ideas and challenges.
Does the direction that your life took surprise you?
Oh, yes, sure.
This award-winning film came as a bit of a surprise to those who had grown to love the cuddly Muppets.
1,000 years ago, this land was green and good, until the crystal cracked. The dark crystal.
After the success of The Muppet Show,
It's The Muppet Show!
then he wanted to break new ground and to think new thoughts.
Hello, Big Bird.
I don't think of myself as a person who relates terribly strongly with children.
What became the Dark Crystal?
Where are we?
Safe.
Safe? I don't think anywhere is safe anymore.
Part of the desire was to create a whole new world, to start all over and design everything.
You don't seem to be slowing down. Labyrinth is by far the biggest project I've seen from you.
You're him, aren't you? You're the Goblin King.
One of the biggest things we've tried to do. And one of the most fun for me. I am exhausted from living up to your expectations.
When Labyrinth was not a commercial success, that I think, that was quite a blow to him. He was starting to feel like, I love the Muppets, but I have more in me. Why did this not work? How could this not have worked?
Jim Henson had more to say, though the world wasn't quite hearing it. But in 1989, an opportunity came knocking. The Northern Lights, one of Earth's greatest wonders. You know why? It's simple. Not overstimulating, not manufactured, not confusing. Just what it says on the tin.
And as a creator, you should keep this in mind.
Because when you say, "This is my store," the link's gotta look the part. Your store link is your brand, after all. But with a .store domain, people know exactly what they're getting. Your name followed by .store is all your audience needs to find your store. Can't argue with that. Because to me, a link that looks like this feels like this. Whereas .store, it's clean, clear, memorable.
It's why it's used and trusted by the best. These guys care about branding right.
It's obvious, and that obviousness drives more clicks, which equals more sales. So if you're a creator selling online or thinking of starting, lock in your .store domain before it's too late. Links in the description!
Crazy. Walt Disney Company is buying Henson Associates, the company that created the Muppets.
Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog will soon be neighbors to Mickey and Minnie in the Magic Kingdom.
Indeed, the Walt Disney Company is buying
exclusive rights to Henson's colorful characters.
Henson sold the rights for an estimated $100 million.
Analysts say the deal may be worth between $100 and $150 million. Remember, we're talking more than movies here. Already successful Muppet merchandise stands to benefit from Disney's marketing muscle.
Anytime Disney gets a hold of something, it's a success. So I'm sure it'll be good for the Muppets.
Henson describes the sale as a dream come true.
The productions that we do are expensive. The people that we work with have to be well paid.
This Muppet movie might be shot here, and it's conceivable we could put a television show into the studios here too, so people can see us actually working. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. It's great fun for us to just be thinking about it right now.
The Disney deal was a ticket to a different future. A future where Henson was financially free to try something he'd done again and again. Reinvention.
I certainly was always a very shy person as a kid and so forth. Performing was one of the things that was sort of farthest from my mind. I hated to stand up in front of the class and do anything at all. So I was undoubtedly a great deal more comfortable with the puppet on stage and me not being seen.
Kermit the Frog was born from a marriage between Jim Henson's imagination and his mother's old green coat.
Were you one of those kid puppeteers?
No, I don't think I ever played with puppets or any of that stuff.
Really?
I made some puppets because I wanted to work on television. Hello there. My name is Jim Henson, and I'm a puppeteer. I'm called a puppeteer because I work with puppets. I love television, and I wanted to work in it, and I heard a television station there was looking for a puppeteer, so I made some puppets and got a job. But it was just in order to work on television that I got into puppets.
Jim's first connection with the public was made with a 5-minute nightly show called Sam and Friends.
Sam and Friends. And that's kind of how it all started.
You mean 30 years ago they were looking for a weatherman? You'd be a weatherman now?
It would be now my 30th anniversary as a weatherman.
One of the things Jim did was to really just remake puppetry. They had always kept the puppet theater behind the little proscenium or behind the little ledge. Jim threw all that away immediately. And now suddenly you could get very, very close to a puppet, and that allowed Jim to start working with these very flexible faces.
It all started in the mid-50s with a 5-minute television show, Sam and His Friends. No one quite remembers what happened to Sam, but one of his friends, Kermit, skyrocketed to international stardom.
From local TV in Washington, D.C., the Muppets soon graduated to network TV guest spots.
Starting off our show, here are the Muppets.
After growing success, he and his troupe joined a new public television program in 1969, a program called Sesame Street.
A bold experiment on public television that sought to mix entertainment and education.
It was aimed at children up to 5, teaching them basic English and arithmetic.
Henson and his colleagues thought it might last a couple of seasons.
But when it went on the air, it was an immediate hit, and I think that surprised everybody.
Sesame Street became must-viewing, not just for millions of Americans,
but all around the world.
It's been a marvelous part of my life for many, many years, and I'm only proud to be a part of it.
But it was still hard to convince some people that puppets are for adults, too.
It's funny where the fantasy starts and you get so caught up, you get caught up. I'm sitting here talking to a frog.
A primetime project was rejected by America's 3 networks and finally produced in Britain.
In 1975, The Muppet Show was born on commercial television.
It's The Muppet Show with our very special guest star, Miss Juliet Prowse.
It was seen by 235 million people. In its prime, the most widely seen television program in the world.
From television, it was a short hop to the big screen.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the first screening of the Muppet movie.
Uncle Kermit, is this about how the Muppets really got started?
Well, it's sort of approximately how it happened.
Kermit here, he was living in the swamp,
Fozzie,
and then a fisherman came along.
Fozzie, you can't tell him the whole story. You'll bore the audience.
Miss Tracy, prepare the standard rich and famous contract for Kermit the Frog and Company.
And here again, Henson insisted on trying out new and different ideas. in some cases pioneering brand new special effects.
He used the technology to its utmost.
And the face is radio controlled. I can show you a little bit here.
The faster Jim's imagination ran, the more delight he took in finding a technology to achieve this.
The eyes are radio controlled with a little rig here. Bing, bang, bang.
Jim was not a man who liked to be told what to do. He couldn't contain his energy of wanting to do something new and fresh himself.
Henson wouldn't bring Kermit along to our interview because Kermit has a habit of taking over his creator.
I'd like to talk to Kermit if it's possible. Sure. Can we meet Rolf?
Sure.
What about this character, Jim Henson? What do you think about him?
Who's Jim Henson? Well, I don't know. You know Jim Henson?
I don't know him. I don't know who Henson is. He seems to have his hand in a lot of things around here, but I don't particularly know what that means.
He tried never to repeat himself ever in his career, and I think he was, stunning at that, in always breaking new ground.
With a growing staff to carry out his work, Henson turned to even more ambitious personal projects.
He wanted to go off and push that envelope, and whether it's successful or not, he just wanted to do it. I remember going to a screening in Universal with the executives for the first time, showing them Dark Crystal. And the movie went on for an hour and a half, whatever it took, and the movie went off. It was dead silence. The executives walked out the room, didn't say a thing to Jim or me.
What we were trying to do here is a film that's totally different. Now, it's expensive because this was an expensive film.
If you want to make money, you don't do a film. It's always a gamble. And so you're really doing a film because it excites you.
But basically, I think we've reached the point where you can do almost anything that you can conceive of.
The Dark Crystal is a fantasy about good and evil, trials and tribulations, curses and witches, complete with a bright-voiced hero and a long-haired heroine.
By Christmas 1982, global audiences were growing familiar with sophisticated puppetry. But Henson's plunge into darker territory was a step too far for most.
Big change. Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Not all Henson's experiments were a success. He used high technology to design the gloomy worlds of the movies The Dark Crystal and Labyrinth.
Don't go on. Go back while you still can. This is not the way.
Audiences stayed away.
Soon it will be too late.
Because all artists are pigeonholed. Everybody, whatever they do for a living, they're pigeonholed.
When Labyrinth was not a commercial success, that I think did. That was quite a blow to him.
But Creature Shop project supervisor Jamie Courtier says the company is still associated with all things cute and cuddly.
Kind of an image that we'd love to escape from, because of course we have the technical expertise and the artistic ability to really cut across the board in any direction.
Too different, too weird, too dark. Critics were curious. Was Jim Henson angry? Depressed? Pessimistic? With Labyrinth and the Dark Crystal, it was actually the exact opposite. He believed in hope, in optimism, but he also believed it was something to fight for. And that fight was beginning to take its toll.
Jim was always running from time. There just never was enough time for Jim.
If people say that in many ways Jim Henson is today's Walt Disney, do you resist the comparison, and if so, why?
Yes, I do. Because I think Disney was a very unique individual, and I love what he did. I'm a major admirer of his work.
Last year, he sold his Muppet Company to Disney for an estimated $150 million.
I'm not trying to walk in his footsteps at all.
What did you hear?
They're going to buy the store that works for Muppets.
I think we need this income to keep the whole thing going. I think it's going to open up a lot of doors.
Jim appreciated time and life. His talk, most of the time, was about new things to do, new exciting ventures, and who could make those ventures come into being better.
To call Jim Henson a workaholic is an understatement.
Now, is this new special keeping you busy?
Oh, yeah. I'm working my little tail off, actually.
How do you manage to juggle the Muppets and your feature filmmaking career?
Well, I've always operated doing a few things at the same time. I find it very exciting for myself because I don't get tired of what I do.
He's a perfectionist, and he's been known to tape one scene as many as 103 times to get it just the way he wants it.
I had known Jim as somebody who just could not be held down.
I remember Jim, he had walking pneumonia, and we were shooting a commercial outside in the gas station 30 years ago, and it was 5 degrees, and he should have gone to the hospital, and he was still working, you know?
I mean, one time he had surgery during his lunch hour, you know, and came back and worked until 8 o'clock that night.
People would always say, geez, Jim's taking on way too much now. There's no way Jim can do that. And of course, Jim would always do it, period.
You have somewhat the reputation of being a perfectionist. Is that an apt description of your approach to your work?
No, not really. When you're working in television, you're never dealing with perfection. You're always sort of, you're trying very hard to get the best thing you can as fast as you can and keep moving along. I don't know. I'm certainly not a perfectionist. No.
But you do have your standards.
You do the best. You do all that you can.
By 1990, it was all lining up. Creative liberty, financial freedom, a future worth waiting for.
I'm doing shows that I want to see. I'm hoping other people like to see them too.
Here's a man who's very brilliant, and finally, in these past 7 or 8 years, has had the opportunity to express himself the way he wants to. He was fully aware and became more aware of the bigness of the Muppets, but he also was more aware that all that mattered was keep on doing good work.
My next guest created a dynasty. Please help me welcome Jim Henson.
May 4th, 1990. Jim appears on the Arsenio Hall show. It would be his last appearance with Kermit the Frog.
We've been joined by Kermit the Frog. How are you?
Feeling under the weather, Henson admitted after the show he was disappointed in the performance.
She has a right that'll lay you right out. You know, it's just
an old piece of mosquito caught in your throat there.
Yes. I would have said I had a frog in my throat, but I won't say that.
A week later,
Jim went with his daughter Cheryl to visit his dad in North Carolina.
He did get sick while we were down there. A little bit of a flu, a little bit of a cough, but he was feeling weak, but he wasn't feeling sick.
Jim came home and went to his New York City apartment to rest.
He had no idea how sick he was.
May 15th, Jim cancels a Kermit voice recording.
Because he didn't feel that he had Kermit's voice.
The flu-like symptoms he'd had for several days worsen. He has difficulty breathing well. Still, Jim and his wife Jane do not panic.
When we went to the hospital, he dressed himself and walked down. And actually, when we went to the hospital, the taxi took us to the wrong door, to the front door, instead of the emergency door. So we walked all the way around the block, which is a, pretty long way around. So I don't think either of us thought he was that sick.
I lost 10 points just for being.
He was only 53 years old, and his passing today came as a complete surprise.
He died of pneumonia after being admitted to a New York hospital with a massive bacterial infection.
It had spread to a massive infection to his bloodstream and to his entire body.
With what is described as galloping pneumonia.
Well, apparently he had let it go so far that it became what used to be called galloping pneumonia in the old days.
Doctors fought the infection for 15 hours.
His kidneys were failing, his heart was failing, it was an infection to his entire body. By the time he got to the hospital, it was too late.
His condition had been untreated for at least 3 days. And early this morning at 1:30 Eastern Time, he died.
There's a train leaves here this morning.
Jim Henson was a man who brought so much joy to the world, but in private, he was a dedicated workaholic, so...
Indeed. That seems to be the main factor, that he had what he probably thought was the flu. He let it go too long, and if he had gotten medical attention,
Baby said
2 or 3 days ago, he'd be with us tonight.
it would all.
He had what he thought was a relentless head cold. When he finally realized
Looked around there.
that he was really feeling quite ill, he went to the hospital and in a little spot of pneumonia that became most of his body over a matter of 2 hours or so. He was 53.
But if time makes a difference.
Jim Henson's death seemed to come out of nowhere. But why did it feel this way?
Tell me now.
It's because he was mid-sentence.
Jim died? But we were just starting to get to know him.
There's a train.
Jim was a work in progress from the time he was born to the day he died.
Henson has a feature film set to be released later this year. Jim was in the process of merging his company with Disney for a price of more than $100 million when he died.
And he was going to continue in a sort of small production entity, not the big Jim Henson company.
After his death, the deal fell through.
13, 20
and the Muppets stayed in the Henson family.
I don't want to pretend that I know what happens after this life, or that Jim really knew what would happen after this life, but he had great plans. And
I don't know just what.
People woke up on May 16th, 1990, to a different world. A world that could no longer promise the future Jim Henson was in the middle of building, or a certain fuzzy best friend.
Could you ever hand Kermit over to someone else? Well, maybe when I get to be an old man.
On a newscast the other night, I heard Jim Henson referred to as the voice of Kermit. Well, he was much more than that.
I always knew Jim was a unique person. I just didn't know how important his uniqueness was to the world until after his death.
I feel as if I've lost my best friend because, in fact, I've lost several. Kermit the Frog, for one, and Ernie from Sesame Street.
It took a while for us to decide what we were going to do with Kermit.
He was the heart and soul of Kermit the Frog, and Kermit was very much Jim Henson.
Steve Whitmire, a puppeteer who'd worked with Jim for many years, was chosen to take over the role.
Likeable and funny and straightforward.
I think Steve does a wonderful job of Kermit, but it's not quite the same. Kermit, to me, will always be my father's Kermit.
And perhaps I should add to that, irreplaceable.
Certainly.
No doubt.
Jim Henson's passing didn't erase the future. It divided it. One future ended that night. Another had to learn to go on without him.
5 days after Jim's death, a memorial service was held in New York. All of his puppeteers performed.
I was invited to that memorial, and to this day, it's the greatest send-off I've seen anybody have.
When my father died, he left each one of us a letter. He wrote this about 4 years ago. We received it 3 days ago.
When I was young, my ambition was to be one of the people who makes a difference in this world.
I'm not at all afraid of the thought of death, and in many ways look forward to it with much curiosity and interest.
My hope still is to leave this world a little bit better than it was when I got here.
Don't feel bad that I'm gone. Please watch out for each other and love and forgive everybody. It's a good life. Enjoy it.
It's a wonderful life, and I love it.
This all may sound silly and over the top to you guys, but what the hell, I'm gone, and who can argue with me?
And though his life ended this week at age 53, Henson's genius will continue to influence coming generations.
He leaves behind a body of work that will be discovered by new generations.
But the future of Henson's characters was never really in doubt. They've burrowed deep into our hearts.
The characters he created now have a life of their own.
The world is a sadder place without Jim Henson, but his magic will live on.
I think the world is, very much a better place for him having been here.
It's a kind of immortality, is that what he instilled in his colleagues, his co-workers, the puppeteers, the team, his own children, was what he gave them basically doesn't die.
His sense of decency and fairness in a business which is extremely competitive, is one thing.
He literally was just a guy who lived in a positive life.
It is sometimes hard to remember that the Muppets are just puppets.
I'm sure Jim didn't think in terms of boundaries at all the way the rest of us do.
How much easier to believe that beneath the foam and cloth is a basic and very human philosophy, that people are basically good.
There are always these fences that we build around ourselves and our ideas.
And that's the message that Jim Henson wants to get across with his Muppets.
Jim seemed to have no fences.
The writer Robert Louis Stevenson once wrote, "That man is a success who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much."
Yeah, well, I've got a dream too. But it's about singing and dancing and making people happy.
Who has gained the respect of intelligent men and the love of children, who has filled his niche and accomplished his task.
That's the kind of dream that gets better the more people you share it with.
Who leaves the world better than he found it, who looked for the best in others and gave the best he had.
Well, I found a whole bunch of friends who have the same dream. And it kind of makes us like a family.
That sounds like a perfect description of my friend, Jim Henson.
Are you having as good a time as you seem you are?
Yeah. I love doing what I do. I can't imagine anybody else, having as much fun in their work as I do. I'm very fortunate to be doing the kind of thing that I enjoy doing more than anything else.
Next time Cookie Monster.
Next time Cookie Monster can do it with you. I'm leaving.
I love you.
I love you too.
Thanks.
Yeah.